All right, welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something truly incredible, the hidden rulebook that lets life-saving medicines travel across the entire planet. It's the global language of drug approval, and you're about to learn how it works.
I mean, think about it for a second. A company in, say, Germany develops a brand new cancer drug. How on earth does Japan, the United States, and the whole of Europe all agree at roughly the same time that it's safe and that it actually works? It seems like it should be impossible, right? Well, that's exactly the puzzle we are going to solve today.
So to really get why this is such a huge deal, you gotta rewind the clock a bit. Before we had this global system, the world of drug approval was, to put it mildly, an absolute nightmare. It was a chaotic mess of different rules and requirements.
Just imagine you're a scientist who's poured your life into a new drug. To get it approved, you had to create a completely unique application for every single country. The US wanted one set of tests, Europe wanted another, Japan wanted something else entirely. It meant running the same studies over and over. It was incredibly wasteful, expensive, and worst of all, it meant sick patients were left waiting, sometimes for years. That was the reality. But now, thankfully, things are very, very different.
So who stepped in to fix this chaos? Who wrote the new Universal Rulebook? Well, let me introduce you to the International Council for Harmonization, or as everyone calls it, the ICH.
Now, the real genius of the ICH was its simple but revolutionary idea. Get everybody in the same room. We're talking the regulators, the people who make the rules, and the pharmaceutical industry, the people who have to follow them. And they gave them one shared goal. Stop making up your own rules. Let's work together to create a single, high-quality, science-based set of guidelines that everyone on Earth can agree on.
And what they came up with is a framework that rests on four main pillars. Just remember the letters Q, S, E, and M. It's actually pretty simple. Q is for quality. Is the product made well? S is for safety. Is it safe to use? E is for efficacy. Does the thing actually work? And M is for multidisciplinary, which is basically the master guide on how to pull all that information together. So let's dive in, starting with the most important one, quality.
Okay, so the quality, or Q series guidelines. These are the absolute bedrock of everything. They make sure that every single pill, every single vial of medicine is produced to the exact same high standard, time and time again. And the thinking behind them totally changed the game.
You see, for decades, the old way of doing things was something called quality by testing. You'd basically make a giant batch of a drug, then pull a few samples off the line and test them, hoping the whole batch was okay. The ICH completely flipped that on its head. They introduced this concept of quality by design, or QBD. The idea is you should understand your manufacturing process so perfectly that you don't hope for quality at the end, you build quality in from the very first step. It's a huge shift in mindset.
And this is how it all fits together like a puzzle. It all starts with Q8, which is like the architect's blueprint for the drug. Then you have Q9, which is all about risk management, thinking about everything that could possibly go wrong and having a plan to prevent it. Q10 sets up the big picture quality system to make sure everything runs smoothly. And then there's Q12, which is really cool. It allows companies to make improvements and updates after the drug is approved without a bunch of red tape. It's a truly comprehensive end-to-end system for guaranteeing quality.
So great, you've designed a perfect, high-quality product. But that's just the start. Now we get to the two questions that really matter to all of us. Is it safe, and does it work? This is where the S&E guidelines come into play.
And the order here is absolutely critical. First up, you have the S series for safety. This covers all the lab work you have to do before a drug can ever touch a human being. All the toxicology and pharmacology studies, you have to prove it's reasonably safe in a lab setting first. Only after you've cleared that hurdle can you move on to the E series for efficacy. And that's where you start the clinical trials with actual human volunteers to prove the drug really works.
And right at the very heart of those efficacy guidelines is one of the most important documents in all of medicine, ICH E6, better known as Good Clinical Practice, or GCP. This isn't just a set of rules. You can think of it as a global ethical promise. It's a contract that ensures the safety and rights of people who volunteer for clinical trials are protected above everything else, and it makes sure the data that comes out of those trials is believable and trustworthy. Let's be clear. If you don't follow GCP, your data is essentially useless. It's the foundation of all modern medicine.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got our top-notch quality plan. We've got our lab data saying the drug is safe. And we've got our clinical trial data showing that it actually works, all collected ethically. Now, how do you possibly package all of that complex information into a single story that any regulator anywhere in the world can pick up and understand? Well, that's the job of our final pillar, the M Series.
What the M Series did was create the holy grail of regulatory submissions, the Common Technical Document, or CTD. It is a single 5-part structure for organizing every single piece of data. It is, quite literally, a universal table of contents for a new drug application. So it doesn't matter if you're sending it to the FDA, the EMA, or the PMDA in Japan, the structure is exactly the same.
And right here, this is where it all clicks into place. Look at that. Module 3 is where all of your quality data goes, everything we talked about with the Q series. Module 4 is for all the non-clinical safety reports, guided by the S series. And Module 5 is where you put all the human clinical trial reports, guided by the E series. It's just this perfectly logical, elegant system that takes decades of research and organizes it into one clear, easy-to-review story.
And that, right there, is the magic of the ICH. It took a planet full of conflicting rules and created a common language. One drug, one set of scientific standards, one global submission file. The end result? New, life-saving medicines get to the people who need them faster and more safely than ever before.
But, the story doesn't end here. Science never stops. We're now entering an era of incredibly complex medicines, cell therapies that are customized for a single patient, drugs that are discovered using artificial intelligence. So the big question we're left with is this: how does a standardized global rulebook keep up with medicine that is becoming more and more personalized? That next chapter is still being written.